Do any of these sound like you? You love your home, but it feels too big now. Or you want to move closer to the kids, but moving means letting go. Or everyone keeps telling you what you should do, but this is your life. We're told that before we get too old that we should downsize, but we love our homes. We have memories there. We know the neighborhood. We know the neighbors. We feel comfortable and we agonize over giving that up. Here's what one senior had to say about this agonizing dilemma. Let me read this so I can quote her exactly. Why are people making it sound like a crime if you want to stay where you are? My husband passed away a few years ago. Yes, the house seems a bit bigger, but only because it is just me. However, my daughter and grandchildren are close by. I have my space and peace. Why do I need to move? That's a valid question, but downsizing doesn't always mean you have to move. In this video, I'm going to share some truths about downsizing, each one backed by real retirees who have already done this. And at the end, I'll share one tip from a senior that could ultimately help you stay in the home that you love. Let's dive in. First truth, downsizing takes way longer than you think. This is more than just going through your closets, sorting through your stuff, and hiring a moving truck. The reality is you have decades of belongings, and it could take months to go through it all. Ultimately, it's not just about the stuff, it's about the decisions. Every box, every closet, every drawer that you go through requires a choice. And every choice drains your energy. The thinking and the overthinking are exhausting. What no one tells you is that the emotional load is heavier than the actual work. This is usually why downsizing stalls. It's not always procrastination. It's usually decision fatigue. Once you can normalize this, the process feels less overwhelming. Here's a tip from a senior, and I quote, "I decluttered 3 things a day until I was left with only the things I truly needed and wanted. Not buying more is key." Second truth, you won't miss most of the things that you think you will. It may be a surprising feeling at first, but many retirees find that once they get rid of the stuff, they rarely miss it. What people actually miss are the spaces, the routines, the rituals of daily life. We grieve the lifestyle, not the belongings. This is a powerful mental shift. When you understand what's really causing the emotional resistance, downsizing gets easier. Here's what one senior had to say, and I will quote this one too. "I moved across the country at 65 years old because my children lived on the East Coast and I was alone without family on the West Coast. I had always lived on the West Coast, had a lot of friends, and was very comfortable, but I miss my children and my grandchildren. I no longer needed a large house. Everyone was on the East Coast that truly mattered to me. So for me, the move was a no-brainer. I'm here now on the East Coast, 78 years old, in a small 1-bedroom house. The house is just for me, no large dining room, I don't need it anymore. I eat at my children's homes on holidays. Downsizing was very freeing for me." Let's move on to truth number 3. If you do move, the furniture that you have rarely fits in your new home. Trying to force old furniture into a new home almost always backfires. Whether you're moving to a vacation destination or a retirement spot, your new home is likely going to have a different layout than what you're used to. If there are guest rooms, they likely will be smaller. The living spaces may be narrower, and the ceiling heights might be lower. The great room may be more of an open concept than what you're usually familiar with. Trying to bring your dining room set, your executive desk, or your oversized living room sectional may not be an option. You'll be happier if you plan for a fresh layout rather than trying to recreate your current one. Truth number 4, downsizing forces you to confront old identities. This is an emotional landmine that people rarely talk about. You're not just sorting through belongings, you're sorting through old versions of yourself. You'll likely find hobby gear from 1995, corporate awards from a career chapter that you've already closed, childhood art that your kids made that you haven't looked at in 20 years, souvenirs from trips that you barely remember. For me, I have my old high school yearbooks. I have my old leather jacket from field hockey and track. When I was younger, it was fun to look back and laugh at the hairdos and the clothes. And now I'm like, why am I holding on to this stuff? And more importantly, who wants this stuff? Downsizing becomes a process of letting go of the identities you've outgrown. It's normal, it's emotional, and it's part of the transition into retirement. I love this sentiment from a senior. Don't be obliged to keep stuff to prove to yourself or anyone else that you lived and loved. Are any of these truths so far hitting home for you? Tell me your experience in the comments. You may help someone who's going through this or someone who's gearing up to go through this. Truth number 5. Your adult children do not want what you're saving for them. My mom saved things like my baptism gown, my small 5-year-old hand immortalized forever in clay, the blanket that I took everywhere that looked like it had been eaten by moths. I've even got a couple of sets of her fine china that have been sitting in a cabinet just collecting dust. Now I admit, some of it I did want. When my parents passed away, I wanted those memories. I wanted the things that my parents had treasured. And I moved that stuff from house to house, holding on to the sentimental value that I had put upon them. We save these things to preserve the family legacy. But the reality is the kids and even the grandkids don't want them. This realization frees you to let go without the guilt. As one senior said, and I quote, "I learned after my husband had passed that the things we keep for our children are our memories, not theirs. They all nicely declined to take her first doll, his first fishing vest, or the Star Wars toys. They don't want grandma's china or figurines. That experience has made it easier for me to continue downsizing." And I love this particular tip from this senior. Your own children might not want your stuff, but other young people might. My friend's daughter bought a new house. I invited her to come over and she took a lot of the things. She was thrilled. A new young couple moved in down the block, and they ended up with several of my things as well. I've done it a couple of more times with other friends' kids, and they are so excited and appreciative. I don't have to have my kids take it. I just want someone to love it as much as I did. Truth number 6. The first big purge is the hardest, and then the momentum kicks in. The toughest emotional hurdle is the first major sweep. Once you get that win under your belt, something shifts. You'll start to feel lighter, clearer, more motivated, and you'll start to be more excited for what's next. Downsizing becomes less about loss and more about creating space for your next chapter. As one senior put it, in 2018, my husband and I left our first and only home after 39 years and went 3 states away to be near the grandkids. Now we are in a smaller home, got a dog, and are loving our new adventure. Best thing we ever did. Truth number 7. Storage units become emotional crutches. Here's the trap many of us fall into, myself included. We tell ourselves, I'll just store this for a short while until I decide what to do with it. But most of those items that go into storage remain untouched until someone finally goes in years later to get rid of them. A storage unit isn't a solution. It's a delayed decision with a monthly bill attached. Avoid this by setting clear deadlines for anything that you store. Or better yet, don't rent that storage unit at all. Truth number 8. If you do move to a smaller home, it often feels bigger. I know, that sounds like an oxymoron. But when you do move to a home with fewer rooms to maintain, a simpler layout, maybe updated systems and modern storage, and perhaps with a more functional kitchen, you suddenly have less stress and more freedom, which leads to more time and more energy. You're not downsizing your life. You're downsizing your obligations. Truth number 9. The financial benefits are only part of the story. Yes, you'll likely save money on taxes, repairs, maintenance, utilities. But the real benefit is time. You're not just shrinking your home, you're expanding your life. I'm going to quote this one senior. I moved from a 1,600 square foot condo to a 300 square foot tiny home with my 2 Yorkies. I've lived tiny for over 4 years. It enabled me to love my life and to be able to retire. $54 electric bills are the best. I wish I could have done this 20 years ago. I sleep in a loft, but I have a downstairs bedroom with a Murphy bed for the future. I'm a 70-year-old young lady. Downsizing isn't about giving up. It's about getting ready. Ready for the grandkids to visit more often. Ready for sunshine instead of snow. Ready for a home that supports the life you want, not the life you've already lived. The majority of seniors say that they do want to age in place. Here's an interesting tip from a fellow senior. You don't have to move to downsize. You can partition the house into 2 and rent out the other if your state or county allows. Then you can use that rental income to pay a gardener, property tax, etc. I thought that was a great tip, if you can do it. For you, if downsizing and retirement does mean a move, and you need a realtor in the area that you're considering, reach out to me. Scan the QR code here or click the link down below, share with me where you're headed, and I will connect you with a trusted agent in that local area. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Perhaps share this video with someone who's thinking about downsizing or struggling with the idea of downsizing. I hope you found this video helpful. Thanks for joining me. I'm Alysia Shivers. Until next time.